Perhaps I'm in the minority, but I like my heroes to be accessible. I don't want to look up to some unattainable image with jealousy and be content with simply admiring someone else's ability to be. No. I want my influences to inspire me to self actualize, to be all that I can be, and all that jazz. I think that it's safe to say that in life I have taken the road less traveled. And FYI, Robert Frost, it has made all the difference. Unfortunately, the difference is that my life is crap. Don't get worried. This isn't a cry for help. I'm just trying to articulate a point. I used to like horror movies. Correction. I used to like the idea behind the genre of horror. A few of the more successful horror films had at their heart genuine characters with genuine yearning and intent. In many cases, the killers had justifiable reasons for embarking on their reign of terror. Jason Voorhees lived his entire life as a deformed, teased kid. One day he went to camp at Crystal Lake and ended up drowning due to the negligence of the camp counselors. Sure, maybe his mother got a little overzealous with a knife in the first installment of the series, but after the plucky kids knocked her off, Jason had twice the reason to grow into a beefy, immortal, goalie mask-wearing killing machine. What about Freddy Krueger? He was the bastard child of a mother who was raped and impregnated by the inmates of a sanitarium for the criminally insane. After that, he was abused, tormented, and bounced around to several foster homes. Even if Freddy didn't end up killing hundreds of people, it's not like he was destined to be president. Finally, Nosferatu, or the old-school vampires. Vampires of yesteryear were clammy, black-eyed, rodent-looking animals who only came out at night. Sure, vamps can't go into direct sunlight because it causes death, but I think the original vamps refused to be seen in daylight because they were too hideous to creep out of the shadows. Vampires have no reflection in the mirror because they have no soul and are technically dead, but having no reflection is also an unstated commentary on their exterior appearance. Did vampires really not appear in mirrors, or did mirrors just refuse to recognize them because they were ugly? Personally, I don't endorse killing for recreation or revenge, but I do identify with the underlying themes behind the characters I mentioned. These stories are about tormented people who are never given a chance at normalcy in their lives. After a long period of unwarranted hatred and rejection, they use that suffering as fuel to develop superior strength, intellect, and will. They then take vengeance on a world that refused to accept them, a world who beat them down and tried to destroy them. Besides the virgin who beats the killer in the old horror films, the rest of the people slayed are abhorrent human beings. For this reason, we tend to cheer the killer on his or her quest for some twisted form of justice. But one day that all changed. The heroic, ugly, outcast monsters who sought to neutralize the gap between the haves and the have-nots were staked through the heart. In their place, an army of teenage heartthrobs and heartthrobettes took over. Vampires were no longer hideous creatures of the dark. Rather, they were youthful, athletic models destined to remain young and beautiful forever. The hunger for blood was once seen as a monstrous practice performed by a demon who fortified his soul in order to stave off the decay of his body and the permanency of death. Now blood is merely used as a device to heighten sexual tension, and immortality is merely used as a device to reinforce the importance of youth and vanity. In current slasher movies, spoiler alert, all of the killers are the cool kids. Killing is no longer a last resort brought upon by mental illness and an inability to fit in with the world. No. These days, killing is en vogue. Cool Trevor doesn't kill because of years of abuse. He kills just because he's bored. Mental illness, sadness, despair were the last refuge that the fringes of society had. For a while there, everyone ignored the darkness within our species for the uncomfortable, inconvenient blight that it was. That wasn't until someone realized that you can turn suffering into mystery, and mystery into sexuality. Now no dark corners remain. The anti-hero has become an unattainable brooding male model who has 1,000 years of life experience and the power of 10 men. We no longer shudder and quake for fear of creatures that lurk in the pale moonlight. There is no sympathy remaining in our hearts for the aching loneliness of being passed over. Today's monsters are not something we're afraid of, but something we wish we could be. When we hear a bump in the night, we don't get a knife. We grab our cameras and autograph pads instead.